Hey podcast listeners, Beth Azor here with the Retail Leasing Playbook podcast. Today we will be going over chapters 8, 9, and 10 of the Retail Leasing Playbook. So chapter 8, don't rely on an online listing service. Now, I'm not saying that CoStar and LoopNet and ROCKSTAR and all of these other listing services aren't valuable. I'm sure they are in specific cases. But for us, having these services does not substitute for boots on the ground, phone call to phone call communication with the neighboring leasing agents to get accurate information and up-to-date information. When you rely on these services, you're not sure how old that information is, right? And there can be user errors, right? There's this way when you're calling the leasing agent, when you're speaking to the leasing agent, you're getting the direct source, the direct information. So, worst case scenario, maybe you're in the middle of your market study, you're trying to finalize it, and you've got one or two properties that you just cannot get any information on, then go ahead and use one of these online listing services. But what I would highly recommend on the market study, you list in parentheses that that's where you got the information from, so that when you send it out, that specific leasing agent sees that that's where you got their information from, and where other people also in the market see that that's where you got your information from versus a direct source. Okay? Chapter 9, organize your information. So I have in the book the market study, an example of a market study that we use, a form that we use here in our office. And I include columns such as the property, the address, the total GLA, gross leasable square footage, the available square footage. I always think it's important to put the vacancy percentage. Very, very important to include the vacancy percentage, because it may be 40% vacant, but it's one big box, right? So definitely always have the vacancy percentage. Then keep the anchor tenants in there. The quoted rates, you know how I feel about that word, right? You should never say I'm quoting or I'm asking. You just say the rent is. But for the purpose of the market study, you are getting quotes from your neighborhood leasing agents. So it's okay in this case to say quoted rates. The triple nets, right? The common area, maintenance, taxes, and insurance. And then any comments. And then the last column would be the leasing agent and the contact information. I also like to, I didn't do this in the book, and we've been doing this since the publishing of the book, is adding a column that says how many recent deals or how many deals have been done in that center in the last 6 months. I think that kind of talks about current activity, current absorption. So I think that's an important column. So I would go ahead and add that. And then the comment section, what I like to do is put things like, a recent deal that was signed in that center, or maybe that center is undergoing a redevelopment. Maybe they're adding an anchor. Maybe an anchor is moving out. Maybe it's under construction for a rehab. Maybe 4,000 square foot tenants moved out recently. So just kind of filling in, treat this market study like someone who's reading it doesn't live in your market, and you're giving them a really good detailed snapshot or picture of what's going on in the market. I think that's really, really important. The comment section is when Kara or whoever's working for me completes a market study, I look at the vacancy percentage in the market, and I look at the comments, and then I look at the rents. And then I look at the column that now says, have you done any leases in the last 6 months, right? So I think this is the most valuable tool you can have as a leasing agent as a project leasing agent for a shopping center. And I recommend that you complete this twice a year. The first one is the most painful. whether it's your first one or second one as a junior leasing agent, or whether it's the first one in a market that you're new to. I would tell you that when I buy a shopping center, it probably takes me 2 to 3 drafts before I'm finished. I think this one that's in the book, it took Kara 6 or 7 drafts. It just takes a long time to gather the information, make it accurate, get the neighborhood leasing agents to cooperate and give you the information. You know, if you want to do it right, you want to drive through the centers and see the centers for yourself. Hopefully, you know, you can get to them if you're not geographically in the same market. So that's chapter 9. And chapter 10, keep up. It's important to keep this updated. Just like, you know, your CRM. If you can even keep like in your notebook or in your Evernote on your phone, if let's say you go show space and you did your market study a month ago and you see that a new tenant is coming at a center nearby, maybe next door, I'm not suggesting you go and update the market study at that point, but put little notes in your Evernote where, like, you might say Davy market study, and then say, okay, Batteries and More opened, or Sephora opened, so that when you go to update it 6 months from now, because you just finished it a month ago, you can go there with accurate and updated information. That's where you can start, because to just start all over and not keep it updated is, you know, a lot more work, right? And then also it's helpful to read online, keep up with the current events of the market. You know, is there a new hospital under construction? Is there a new elementary school under construction? Is there an office building being knocked down for a new development? Are apartments coming into the area? All that is important information for market information. We had a showing today with a gentleman that has one of these bouncy house places. I think he's got 3 locations. And he was asking us about, you know, how many elementary schools are in the area, and, you know, what are other traffic drivers. And these are important things that you need to know about your market so that you can be up to date at all times, if possible, when you're showing space. So those are the 3 chapters for this week. I hope you're enjoying the podcast. If you are, please subscribe. Please give us a shout out on any social media platform you would like. We can add the link later on if we catch it. Just tag me, which is the @ at Beth Azor, and then I'll see that and we can tag the link to the podcast. And I appreciate you listening. We'll talk to you next week. Have a great week and sign some leases.